You are listening to the Hello Sport Podcast.
What is up, punters and dribblers? Welcome back to another episode of the Hello Sport Podcast, home of unqualified opinion and unwavering bias. Huge episode today of the All Talk series, sitting down with a goat of goats.
A goat's goat.
A goat's goat. Real bah of note.
Yeah. Absolutely nailed
Does a goat bah like a sheep? Like, I don't know what a goat.
Listen, it sounds a little bit like a sheep, I think.
Sheep adjacent.
Yes. Well, they're brothers, cousins. Well, they're not brothers.
They'd be cousins.
But
now,
this man is terrific.
Yeah.
He is a premiership winner.
Newcastle Knights, 97.
He's a media darling.
Face of Fox League.
He played 4 Origin games. He won a World Cup for the nation. He was born in the Rugby League heartland of Cessnock. He has gone on to the dizzying heights of podcasting.
He's the face of rugby league media in Australia. He, along with Fox League and his show, the Matty Johns Show, basically was like the next gen new wave of rugby league coverage from the sort of like, you know, the funny side of things flowing on from the Footy Show days. He's got the Johns Family podcast with his 2 boys and his wife. Which is a great listen and should be on any podcast rotation worth its salt.
Correct, Tom. He's also got the podcast he does with Cooper Cronk where he just gets real savant level on rugby league. The man is a national icon and, quite frankly, one of our great living Australians.
Yep. And we're very much appreciative to have him on. So here he is, Matty Johns. You seem like, from a rugby league, maybe the stereotype of like rugby league players, you seem quite interested in, or you've got quite a good knowledge of the world, more so than I think maybe your contemporaries. What's that? Where's that kind of come from? Have you always been? Maybe you disagree.
No. Possibly, Tom. There's probably been a little bit like of where I've been. Probably was, but I reckon right at the back end of my career, like I found that I was just after some respite from the game. It has been such a, like I started playing football when I was 5 and sort of just been, you know, where I'm from in the Hunter Valley, you know, the coalfields of the Hunter Valley, it's just so much ingrained into the culture, particularly in the 70s and 80s, that by the time I was sort of near the end, I just had enough, you know. And now what do? You go and do what I do now, you know. No, but I'd had enough, like I just needed a spell from it.
Yeah.
And so I started reading, you know, books apart from Spot went to school, and just sort of got into things like from there, and one thing led to another, and then you start to plan holidays, and you say, well, instead of going to LA, we might go here, go to Cuba, go whatnot, you know, go to Nirachaza, and so yeah, that's sort of. Yeah, that's where it's led in. Yeah.
Anywhere else you've been that's a bit sort of left of centre?
Hairy?
You know, that's not just Bali or London?
I love, like, myself and Trish, it's a funny story with this, went to Cuba, which was...
That's like a time warp, hey, going back there.
Yeah, yes, because of because the embargoes that the States have put on, so you literally go back just like you're in the 50s. It's remarkable. It's when you land at the airport of Havana, and the drive into the city, toward the city, it's almost like, it does feel like Bali. There's lots of, like, you know, fields and whatnot, and you're looking around. You know, like you're pulling up at railway crossings, and the bloke's having a look either way, going okay, and they cross it, and I'm sitting there going, where are we going? This might be a huge mistake to get in this taxi as well. And then you drive, and when you first hit Havana, I liken it to, it looks like Paris recovering from a bombing.
Oh shit!
Like, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
It is, like, really beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it needs a splash of paint.
I bet. We were, to just pivot back to a bit of rugby league off the top here, but Magic Round, we were up there. It was obviously, like, Magic Round's one of the great weekends all time.
Sure
is. It's so good. We, a couple of our mates happened to be in the Caxton with you, and you were running shape. Yep. And you made a couple of young boys' dreams that day. Like they just I wouldn't stop talking about it.
Rugby League guru, I think.
Rugby League guru was coming in.
Came and went to heaven, I
think. Were you? Someone was like, I think he was like, I don't know if he knew how much we were all enjoying it, or whether he was half like were you half taking the piss, knowing like the boys are just loving this, or do you just like run and shape every once in a while?
I don't remember it. It was, for me, it was tragic round. No, I do. I remember. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it. I was extremely fortunate that when both Andrew and I came through at the Newcastle Knights, there was an old guy at the club who was like this guru. It was almost like, I suppose, if you're a heavyweight boxer stumbling across Customata, or a musical genius, and he was just so good at educating you everything about football. And so as myself and Andrew started sort of climbing through the ranks and getting more attention, he just started dedicating more time to us, to the point that, he after a training session where you just wanting to relax, he'd come back and just with a VHS tape and just put it in for 2 hours.
Oh, really?
And just go, righto, this is how you... this is how you pull a defender to you. And because you're young and there's only so much you can absorb. And I know what you're thinking. It was obvious Joey was listening harder than I was. But you actually, when the penny drops, everything, and even now there'll be certain things I'll hear myself talk about a game and I can hear his voice teaching me.
Yeah.
And Alan Bell. And so, yeah, it's like stepping through a doorway. Someone asks you something about football and you'll say something which then leads you down this other corridor, and all of a sudden it just go bang, and all the stuff that you find yourself 40 minutes later
running shape upstairs at the Caxton,
and people going, what the fuck's going on here? Because I looked over
all the boys up. Now you come here and you come here.
I was sitting there and I've got blokes. I got 5 blokes standing there. We're doing I got half field shape. So mathematical equation, you've got 2 markers, you've got the fullback, there's 5 on the other side, so it's 5-5 split. And then we're saying about, right, you don't run to him because that chews up the field. You've got to find a way to pull the B defender to you, not run to him. Then blah, 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 blah. And I get most of the way through it. And then Martin Gleeson there, who's a pommy, goes, yeah, mate, but what if he does that? I said, fuck, mate, you're ruining the whole story here. But, yeah, so, no, I enjoy it. But I'm always really mindful of not going too far there. And it was one of the primary reasons I didn't go into coaching. Because in our house, my wife, this is a monthly argument. I've got this storage area where I must have 30, 40, 50 exercise books with just notes written in it from my playing days. Okay. And even there was a period that I was thinking about going into coaching. There was a club looking a bit over a decade ago for a coach, and they sort of bumped me if I was interested. And I was like, yep. But, 3 days later, I filled 5 exercise books worth of notes. And I went, do I really want to go back there? It's like that part of your personality. Yeah. So even now, sometimes Fox will say, do you want to commentate a game? And I just go, no, because I just don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
So I just knock around with Fletcher and Heine and Gordy. But, yeah, so dip my toe in occasionally, but it's just chewed up so much of my life.
Yeah.
And particularly when you've got a family, you just find that if you go too far into that world again, you're there, but you're never there. Like you're in their presence, but you're not with them.
Yeah,
your head's somewhere else.
Just thinking about shape constantly,
and thinking about when they talked about coaching, I went and had a look at the team, and I started worrying about really arsehole things like, this bloke's probably taking too much of the salary cap for a million. I'm going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I understand why a lot of the coaches they go mad.
Is there a club that you would coach? Like, obviously, maybe not now, but would there have been a club if they'd gone? Like, was the club that asked you one where it's like, obviously take it or leave it? Was there any offer out there that you would have come back for?
Didn't really think of it like that. I'll tell you who really warned me against it, because I worked with him doing a bit of stuff with the halves, and he just knew how I ticked, was Craig Bellamy. When I was thinking, he rang me and said, mate, I'm hearing this. I said, yeah. He said, mate, don't do it. And I said, really? He goes, your personality, mate. He said 2 things. He said, I just know how excessive you can be and you to just take up 100% of your time. And he said, but the other thing he said is that you got to understand coaching these days is probably 30% of it. He said, you know, you're dealing with sponsors, you're dealing with the club, you're dealing with salary cap, you're dealing with this, that, and the other. And he said, I just know that it would bore the hell out of you.
Yeah.
And it's good advice.
What about a one-off Origin series? If you're offered just 3 games.
Do you know, again, the lead up to it, I just don't. I just don't need it. I enjoy myself. I enjoy my life too much.
Yeah.
You know, that I just, like the closest we came, myself and Andrew, was Samoa.
Oh, that's right. That was relatively recently.
There was that situation.
They knocked you back.
Yeah, well, it was just so hard to work out what was going on. Like, you know, one sense we had people saying they're really unhappy, but players had signed a document and all that. And our thing all along was, look, once we started to look at it, you could see how complex the situation was. And we didn't want to be disrespectful, but we didn't quite know the dynamics of what was going to. So our thing all the time was, okay, like, we don't want to get immersed in this, but if something happens and you're looking for somebody, we're here.
And why Samoa? And why with your brother? How would that have gone? Do you reckon you guys could have worked?
That would have been interesting.
I'd have been a documentary on itself.
Yeah, I know. Samoa, because I just, well, firstly because they came to us. There was a contact from there. Okay, they sort of bumped Andrew initially.
Right.
And then we looked and it was appealing because you just saw the potential. And we're great believers in Pacifica, the game doing more there, the opportunity for the game. And so that's why we saw the progress that Ponga had made and saw the same potential with Samoa. And as you saw with the World Cup, I mean, that speaks for itself. And just sort of working, because the other thing I believe in is that I don't think State of Origin should be the pinnacle of the game. I think international football should be. Like back in those days of the great old Kangaroo Tours, 82, 86, 90 and 94, that was the pinnacle of the game. These fantastic Great Britain sides, a really strong New Zealand. I think if in a decade's time we're still looking and going, mate, the pinnacle of the game, State of Origin, in a lot of ways we failed.
And do you think that the Pacific Nations is sort of the future of the strength of the international game?
I think a huge part of it, yes. Yeah, I really believe that the next side in should be a Pacific side.
Yeah, right.
We're going to ask you about that. What would you do then with Origin? Would you keep the eligibility the same? Would you relax it?
That's complex.
Yeah, it's just
not something you want to get into.
That's complex. Yeah, I just, you know.
Give us an answer, mate.
These days there's so many forms of media and there's so many ways of what I would say be interpreted. No, look, that is so difficult to sort through. I mean, ideally, I would I want Jerome Luai and Brian To'o playing State of Origin. However, I want them playing for Samoa.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want young Samoa and Tongan players going, we're not going to represent Samoa and Tonga because we want to play for Queensland or we want to play for New South Wales. Yeah. But it's just trying to work out how we do that.
How you do it, yeah. Going back to early days, Cessnock, you're getting noticed by the Customato Rugby League and, you know.
Whose name was what?
Alan Bell.
Alan Bell.
Yeah, I saw him the other day. We're at a old teammate's funeral there and it was so good to see him. Just telling stories, like old rugby league stories about, like, just stuff you don't hear anymore. He was talking about, you know, the guy who had passed. He was talking about when he got his like first start in, you know, and he was opposing blocker and just about how to handle, like, because, you know, this young guy was really, very, very strong.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, you're going to go against blocker, this is what's going to happen. And he just, like, there's just a certain layer of intelligence when AB was talking about it. And he said to him, blocker is so important to Balmain. He said Benny and blocker are their halves because Mick Neal and Gary Freeman were very much runners and they were competitors. He said blocker's just so important. So what I want you to do, Bubby, every scrum, he said, when you pack down, he said, blocker's going to want to break from the scrum and start the set and start rolling. Just grab him and just hold him. And he said, blocker's big, but he said, you could hold off a bullocky. He said, just grab him, and even if you can't, take him to the ground. And as much as he fights you, just hold on to him as long as you can, then let him go. And it just, like, it exhausted blocker, and he was like, oh, man, and it got him into sets late and really affected the rhythm of the Balmain side. And if you look at that game, if you look at that game, the Newcastle side had made up of all these young guys because they had all these injuries. And I think Balmain beat them on the bell, 18-16. And it was just sort of that old school smarts and cleverness, and gamesmanship.
Which you even, I think, were talking about on what we agree is the greatest rugby league content, the show with you and Cooper, in terms of like rugby league nerd out sessions, like here in a way the game is sort of spoken about.
And we were concerned, just to butt in quickly, that you weren't doing enough last year, sort of on and off.
Well, it was like,
mate, there's another one out. We'd be so stoked, and then like a month would go by without anything. I felt like getting your number and calling up and going, I need this out weekly. So the fact it has been,
the fact it's out, we're very pumped with that. But you were saying. It might have even been the one just after Magic Round, but about how people sort of sometimes say rugby league's a simple game, and how even just little things like that where the layman isn't necessarily paying attention or aware of the intricacies of little things that can be done to affect the game in a more full-blown way than,
Yeah, I think, the beauty of Wayne Bennett is that he's the greatest at simplifying that, but he's mastered making the game simple by 900 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is, in essence, a very complex game, and only when you understand that complexity can you make it simple. So, to sit there, like Wayne would understand all these different complexities, but then go, right, I know what's important and what's not, and I know how to get that guy to do his job.
Yeah.
Where sometimes you hear coaches, talk. Like, for me, one of the most terrifying things I would hear from a coach occasionally, where you go into a certain side and they just go out, you know what to do, mate, just get out there and play footy.
Do your role.
And you go, fucking hell, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want an instruction. You want to say, you get out and that's your job, and I want you to do this. I want you to focus on this, but don't worry about all of that. And that's what I believe that's very much what Wayne does. I was talking to Sean O'Sullivan. Sean was playing so well before he got the pec injury. And Wayne said to me, Sean, you just go out there and this is what I want you to do. I want you to do this and I want you to do that, because when you start to think of too many things, you get muddled. And but that can't be, that simplification. That takes time.
Yeah.
That's not, someone going in and, someone saying, hey, Tom, just go and say that to that bloke and he'll get it. Something gets lost. It doesn't work like Chinese whispers.
Yeah. I was going to say, Alan Bell's old tricks of the trade, like obviously the one with blocker, just hold him in the scrum. Are there still little tricks like that in the game, or is that sort of lost to time?
Yeah, there would be. I mean, I'm not so much in clubland anymore. Well, I'm not in clubland anymore. I don't really do. I work with sort of individuals if they reach, if they speak to me, give me a call, and we'll go down the park and do some stuff. But I'm not involved with the day to day with the clubs. It just pains in the
So any
arse.
player, like not any player necessarily, but like you're like open if someone just hits you up.
Yeah. No,
I know you have worked with halves and stuff, but that's sort of how it operates. I'll just sort of hit you up and ask for some.
Yeah. Come around, work with lots of blokes. Some we keep it quiet because like coaches get very funny. I'd say to them if they come to me, I have a set. Like, everyone plays the same sort of shapes. There's little variations. So when they come to me, I'll say, whatever your shape. Don't tell me what your name of your shapes are, but here's the name of the shapes that I use.
Yeah,
if it makes sense.
Yep.
So and so then you don't. They take it away, and it's just a change of vocabulary.
Yeah.
But some, they want to keep quiet. Others, clubs, we'll send them over. I've had some interesting times. I've had like Cronk when he was a young player. He'd stay for almost a week at a
time. So he'd
time.
come and stay at your house, like he come from Melbourne.
Yeah.
It must be a trip to see now, to see what he's done in his career, and then now, like, you guys are working together and all that sort of, and where he's sort of at.
We had when Billy was coming back from his shoulder, they were trying to work out, sort of bed down, how Munster and Billy would work together, almost like you got two guys, fullbacks, trying to change the way that the six would work. So they would come and stay. I didn't let Munster stay at the house. I'll make that straight away. But it said absolutely,
the corner, mate.
Absolutely no way in the world.
Swag out the front of the house.
He would. So this says a lot about the Melbourne Storm, right? It says a lot about like Slater. So those guys went. They came and they said, "Oh, what sort of hotels are in and around Collaroy?" I'm like, not a lot in Collaroy. Look, you're going to stay in Manly, 10 minutes drive, and they went, "No, it's okay." So they booked into this community centre.
Oh, right.
I actually stayed there, I think, on a Year 5 excursion.
That's exactly it. So Munster and Slater were staying in this dorm.
Yeah, they were dorms, yeah.
Yeah, and we were doing the sessions on the fields that are there, right? That's where we're doing the sessions. And, the school kids would come out on their excursions and I'd watch them and they'd be going, "Is that fucking Billy Slater?" But that says a lot about the bloke.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? That says a lot about
definitely.
he and Munster. Like, because most players said, "Oh, we're going to stay at a community service."
Yeah, no thanks. You wouldn't see the Roosters doing that.
No. Yeah. Allegedly.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, that'd be at the Intercon in the city, mate.
Yeah.
Get the driver to drop them over in the
Stretch
morning.
limo
That's
out
right.
Yeah.
The podcast is always this week, Punters and Dribblers, brought to you by our good friends at Ned's. Join our About Even group on Ned's, a private group where we share bets. You might have got my Fafita first try scorer if you were in there. You find it in the group, the group tab in your Ned's app.
Come and join the biggest group on Ned's, except some weird racing group.
Yeah, basically the biggest group in the Ned's group groups, and the secret passcode is Dribbler. Now, we obviously love Ned's. You love Ned's. Ned's have been a big supporter of ours, and we thank them for it.
If you haven't tried Ned's Punters and Dribblers, you're not going to regret giving them a whirl. A delicious betting experience.
Take it for a spin.
Take it for a spin, like driving a new car, and then you hop out of it and you go, "Geez, that was the car for me." That's what's gonna happen with Ned's. You get a nip in there, you're gonna go, "Whoo, same game multis." Woo! Yes, sir. Little Ned's toolbox full of little goodies and little treats. Woo! Yes, sir. Okay, you got all the regulars, the first try scorers, last try scorers, margins,
all the
lines,
good stuff, all
totals,
the good stuff. Come
half time,
on.
full time, all the goodies. But it's the toolkit.
Yeah.
Is what gets me going.
Yep, that's it, Punters Dribblers. Now, obviously, as we always say, we like to have fun. We personally like to have a punt. If you don't, that's fine. As long as if you are going to do it, you're doing it responsibly. That's the most important thing. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on screen or visit the website.
Going back to Cessnock, were you and your brother just like absolutely obsessed with the game growing up? Was that sort of what put you apart, do you think, in the early going?
Yeah. Look, when you said set us apart in the early going, set Andrew apart. Like, we're very sort of different, not on how we see the game, but what our attributes were. Andrew growing up was always like the one. At Triple M, I remember like interviewing Wayne Gretzky, right? And such a nice guy and so humble, but I just prompted him. I said, "Were you always like the one?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah." He said, "When I was a young kid," he said, "sometimes people would drive like 200 miles to watch me play as a young boy."
Oh, wow.
Now it's not the same extent with that with Joey. I mean, people would drive 2 minutes. But for Joey, there was no doubt with Joey since he was a young boy. Like, he'd just get the worst bloke in the side, put him in the end goal, and then just beat everyone and hand him the ball. I mean, that's what he did with Darren Alt in the grand final. but where for me it was always a struggle.
Right.
Yeah, for me, I was never the best. I was never the best player in the side. My first 2 years at high school, I didn't make the school football side.
Oh, really? Did that motivate you that Joey was a weapon, like that you were like feeling competitive with him?
Maybe,
especially as a younger brother.
Yeah, because he was younger, bro. It was a little embarrassing, to be honest. It still is. But as I tell you, mate, you can't be good at everything.
No.
I mean, listen to him commentate. But he was always sort of, the bloke that was going to do it.
Yeah.
Going to make it. There was no doubt. But football was just absolutely part of our lives. I can't remember a point in our lives where it wasn't central.
Yeah.
To the point Dad coached first grade side at Cessnock, either 81 or 82 or 80, 81. It's really funny. I've got a thing in my phone. He presented me. In 81, the year that Newtown made the grand final against Parramatta, Cessnock played them in a trial game. Cessnock and Newtown, they had like a sister club arrangement. Yeah. Newtown had come and train with Cessnock and vice versa, and they played each other in a trial game. And Dad goes, is this of any interest? And he pulled out the old team sheet of first grade Cessnock versus Newtown, first grade and reserve grade. And like the reserve grade side, Newtown that night was like Gus Gould, Chicka Ferguson.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just looking at it, and it's written down just in Frank Farrington's perfect handwriting. I said, give it here. That's a serious...
That's rugby league history right there.
So, yeah, it was always just central. As I said, Dad coached the first grade for 2 years when it was a seriously good competition. I mean, still is, but it was a pinch away from the Sydney competition, from the Winfield Cup.
Okay.
To the point that they would find the best players, like Dad and the winemaker Murray Tourell, who was like the Nick Politis of the club. Mm-hmm. They'd go to Innisfail. They'd just go all over the place and find these players and bring them as a stepping stone to playing with East or Balmain, wherever they went. So they would live with us.
Right,
which was pretty wild.
Really?
But they were our heroes too. So in our house, we got like these crazy men like Terry Regan, who's known as one of the greatest hellraisers and crazy men in rugby league history. Explains what happened to Joey. But he would live in our house. And it was, but it was sort of, as a young kid, surreal.
Yeah, I bet it was. I see Cessnock as almost being like when you see those high school football towns in America where it's like that's all that the town cares about. Like it is football. Everyone's just waiting for the weekend, and then like that's it's what it's all about. Big
crowds. Yeah. When the local derby was on, Cessnock versus Curry, 10, 15 minutes apart. It was crazy. The game was like, there's an old, they say about ice hockey. You turn up to watch an ice hockey game, a boxing match, and occasionally a hockey match breaks out. That's what it was like, a rolling fight. But it would spill into the stands. And as a young kid, this is not politically correct, but it was exciting.
Yeah.
It's like going to a rock concert. Every good rock concert has to have a sense of menace. Mm. And in those games, like the atmosphere in the grounds, it was just that sense of menace. Anything could tee off at any time. And so, it was. And those guys, would live in the house. You'd see how they prepare. Kerry Hemsley, Fletch and Hiney did an interview with Kerry Hemsley and Kevin Hardwick. And Kerry Hemsley, I do remember it. Kerry Hemsley, when Terry Regan, who lived with us, went to Balmain. Mm. When they did the deal, when he went to Balmain, Balmain agreed to come and play Cessnock the next year in trial matches. And Terry Regan brought Kerry Hemsley over to the house. And the old man, who had a skinful, said, come out in the backyard. And so we're playing in the backyard. Kerry Hemsley says about Terry Regan and Kerry Hemsley in the backyard playing against me and Joey. He said in the interview, and he's like, mate, we're just giving it to him, like elbowing him in the head. And the old man's going, yeah, fucking give it to him.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's why you were such good defenders, particularly your brother, just tackling big men in the backyard? You're old
absolutely, yeah. Definitely with Joey. I mean, he had the right build too, because he was just so thick set, had the good technique, stay tall at the last second, then drop and drive under. Mm. And that he was but he's just a competitive nature.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing the halves and you stand on the edge, what you do is oftentimes you get the big guys. Wherever you move, they move opposite you and they're pointing. So that knows they're spotting you.
They're coming for you.
So there's a couple of things you've got to do is you either have to get up there and sort of make a stand, but you're going to stand in front of them all day, because if you stand back, they're just going to keep coming.
Yeah.
Particularly with your first grade career, you've got to sort of show early in your first grade career that you're a decent defender, at very least a decent defender. Otherwise, your whole career they're just going to be coming at you.
Yeah, and it becomes a thing. A thing people talk about, and like I imagine it just gets
when Joey was talking to Rugby Union, like Eddie Jones and a couple of other Union blokes, and one of the Union blokes who obviously hadn't seen Joey sort of play much, and certainly defend, said, in Union you could be making up to 16 tackles a game. You reckon you'd be able to do it? Joey's like, 16? Mate, I could do that having a ham sandwich.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who you're talking to, mate.
Yeah.
Do you does Joey in particular look at someone like Kalen Ponga and just go, I can help that kid from a tackling perspective? I'm talking about here. Yeah, he's obviously had his issues.
He's worked with him. He's certainly worked with him. And I was encouraged to see Kalen against the Titans starting to get it right. Because that, defending, like people, defenses, particularly in the modern game, is really tricky. So you've got guys who are not only big, but the big guys have got really good footwork. They're great athletes.
Yeah, like change of direction.
Change of direction. That's the tough thing. If you get a big guy who just runs straight, you just go up. It's a test of your courage. You just got to go up and you hit, right? But when a big guy runs at you and he's got late footwork, that's really tricky.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get a gauge, and a lot of that is intuition and it's instinct. And I think Kalen, he just need to work to get that timing and everything right at the last second. And you can tell during that bye weekend. When Bradman went to, didn't hurt him. Went to Bali.
No, mate. I got on him 2 tries after Bali. I go, he's done something well for it.
Volandi's looking to bring a team in Denpasar over here.
The tuk-tuks.
You could tell he worked really hard in his defence, and he got his head in the right side, started to get his timing right. But I mean, Joey's worked a bit with Kalen. He just comes away and just says he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He said, that acceleration, which you saw on the weekend, when he gets a player, and as he gets older, I think he's about to go right in the sweet spot of his career. Because what I saw on the weekend is that for him, with the help of Jackson Hastings, organising attacking sequences, which got him the ball in his sweet spot.
Yeah.
Floating in and around that third last defender. And when, gets him in the radar, you'd see a little bit like Mark Gasnier would play, and he'd get the player almost like, in his radar. He goes, right, I gotcha. And he'd sit there and he'd shuffle and go or cut him in halfback on the inside. And that's what Kalen does. It's getting that ball floating in and around that target defender. And you can see the defender, when he's got him in the zone, he'll hold. The defender will go, oh, no. And that panic, there's a try in Magic Round. I don't know, all Magic Rounds blend into each other. But a couple of years ago, he scores against Canterbury, and he gets Kieran, who's a great defender, but he gets Kieran in his radar. And you see Kieran go, oh, he's got me in the sweet spot. And it forces Kieran to sort of hold, and Kalen just goes wham and beats him back on the inside. That's what we're talking about. Getting a player, almost like a fighter pilot, getting them in that zone. Go, right, I gotcha. You're locked in. You're done. Yeah. That's what he did good on the weekend.
Yes.
And he gets a real feel. It's an instinct where he goes, am I going to cut on the inside of him, or am I going to skip, goose step and keep going?
And when people are talking about him just with, with his 5'8", fullback, all that sort of shit, obviously the issue with him is like the defence and head knocks. But in terms of becoming a 5'8", he hasn't really been given much time to succeed there, right? Like, do you think there's a bit of an element where people need to get off his back? Like allow him time to just develop in that position?
Lockyer took a long time.
Yeah.
Lockyer took a long time. Lockyer, when you saw that there's subtle differences to, with Lockyer. Lockyer was at fullback, could burn players on the outside so easily. And then, like oftentimes with the Broncos in that 2005 going into 2006, that was forcing the attack too sideways. And I reckon about halfway through that year, maybe just before or after the Origin period, you saw him actually sort of take a step off the accelerator and start to straighten. That's that little nuance. and and everything. The Broncos went from being a side who was struggling mid-season to coming out of the blue and winning the competition. And so, it's something which takes time. For Kalen playing 6, it's when to use your speed and athleticism, and when to go righto. Going to take a step back here. Take a leaf out of Jason Smith's book. Slow, slow it up, and just give yourself time. That's sort of finding that right balance. Yeah. That's only happens with experience.
Yeah. Were you and your brother involved at all in getting Kalen to the club or in keeping him there? Are you involved in sort of the negotiations at all?
Spoke to. I don't know. Did I speak to? I don't know if I spoke to Kalen. It's bad when you get past 50.
Yeah. Well, it's all right.
Honestly,
we can edit it. We can edit this bit out.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, mate. I spoke to his dad Andre, had a yarn to him, and just pointed out, the facts of what Newcastle's like. It's a great town. It's a young people's town, and it's a great place to live when you're playing great football.
Yeah.
When you're not playing great football, No, but it's a great rugby league town.
I want to go. We're jumping around a bit, but 97 when you win, we're talking about a great rugby league town. Obviously, you are talking to two Manly fans here as well, Matty. So I just want.
Sorry, boys.
That's all right. Listen,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It's become a nice moment for rugby league.
Can I just say, there's certain sort of sayings that have crept into the English language that I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. What will be, will be. It's very sort of, I don't know if it's Buddhist or something like that sort of vibe.
It's grounded in Buddhism.
In Buddhism, yeah.
Because I can't imagine the Dalai Lama saying something. He goes, it is what it is.
No. Well, it's
probably not with the Aussie twang as well.
Yeah. Well, it's like Carpe Diem is now just YOLO, right? Like it's just
seize the day.
Seize the day.
Listen, you got to live with it, right? Because every fucking year it's Joey going blind and Newcastle have won the grand final, so you've got to make your peace with it.
You've got to make your peace with it. Even though, look, if I was to make an excuse, I'd say it was a split competition. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that some good rugby league judges reckon that Brisbane would have won a unified comp. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't say those things.
Let's not go there, boys.
But I guess like what that experience is like. I imagine it was amazing, but then also. The Better Than Lego video coming out, I just want to get to that first because, did you know that was out there? Or when that thing popped out, you're just like, fuck. It's great. And has it also changed the way fans interact with you now, where it might have been like, bring back the Biff, Matty. Now it's just fucking Better Than Lego.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's like, it's funny, you speak to like young players and you point out to them sometimes, like, people come up to you, right? And they'll go like a magic round. Hey, Matty, Queenslander. It's just banter. And what it is, people are just trying to make conversation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they go up there and, young blokes, one of the young players having a beer at a bar, someone walks up, gives them a bump, They're trying to engage. Don't take offense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people go, I laugh at people and they go, it's just, then you go, come on. So I get it all there and I love it. It's great. However, I remember that night.
That was a great caveat. That was you set it up lovely. You got to love it. It's great. Yeah.
But that night when Fletch unearthed it,
did he
find it?
Someone passed it on to Fletch, and I'm sitting on the show.
Perfect person to find
it. And Fletch
it.
goes, "Mate, we've got something, right?" And I'm going, and it goes, and like I vaguely remember it, vaguely. Excuse me. And I'm watching, and just this, sort of old grainy thing. And Natalie Barr comes up, and I'm next to her. I go, oh no, I remember doing something really stupid here, And then I went, and I'm going, oh no, and it's a sensitive world out there.
Yeah,
people draw all, they get there, and I'm just going, oh man, this could be,
Has this been vetted?
I'm going, but luckily, people took it for what it was.
Yeah.
It was what it was.
It was what it was.
Exactly.
It
is what it is.
That's
but
right.
it was. But it was funny. I started to get people got in touch with me. There was an Irish newspaper, right, from Cork City, got in touch. Cork City Football Club soccer club got in touch with me and said, we want to know, we got sent to us, we want to know why this Australian rugby league player was wearing a Cork City soccer shirt. And I was like, I don't know, a few years ago, me and the wife drove around Ireland. We stopped off at Tipperary, and I just come across this, this store and bought the T-shirt. And I went, that's a very interesting story. I went, is it?
You get a couple of column inches out of that one.
It must be interesting for them.
Yeah.
So please tell us more.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it.
Is it true that Joey woke up Daniel Johns?
Yes.
Is that a rumor?
Yes, Daniel came to Mad Monday.
Kick-ons.
I remember just standing looking at him. And he's like a young boy then.
It's like 16 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's standing there just sort of fresh-faced, so innocent, as guys are like hurling, bicycles off the grandstand, and just going nuts. It was just chaos.
Yeah.
It was just chaos. And people just, it must have been 1,000 people felt like outside the stadium trying to get in, and they'd locked it. It's like
really?
Keeping the people out of the the gorilla enclosure, because we're in there just going, carrying on. And just seeing Daniel just stand there, and he was like, and I went up and said, I think you probably should get out of here. I'm going.
Yeah. I was asleep 20 minutes ago. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I got school today.
Yeah. But Joey does, always adds to the story.
Sure.
Which is okay. I mean, that's what you do.
Yes.
I mean, everyone likes steak, just tastes better with a bit of barbecue sauce on it.
Correct. Right.
And so he went from knocking on the door and, Mrs. Johns, can I come in? Come on, Daniel's dragging him along to, mate, well, I knocked on the door, right? And they went, no, you're not coming in. You've had too much drink. So what I did, I went out and I climbed up the side of the house, got on, knocked over the window, climbed in and dragged him and went, body and soul, I'm a freak, and then dragged him downstairs to the objections of his mum and dad.
That's a better yarn.
Yeah, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
It's much better. What was the bus like coming back into Newcastle? I remember hearing stories vaguely about one of you recalling that coming down the freeway, it was on for young and old, like 20, 30 Ks out of the town.
It was incredible, right? Incredible, firstly, because when you first come into first grade and you start to play some first grade in the very early 90s, you jump on that bus ride after games. Sometimes you've just played Canberra and they put 50 on you. You're hopping on the bus ride. Everyone's fairly subdued. Other times, you get there, you have a dramatic win, and you hop on the bus. Everyone's sort of happy, a bit of and you think, okay, and remember coming out of the ground. I don't remember the victory lap. It was just madness. Right? All I remember is security not being able to stop people getting on the field, and the old man jumped the fence. I remember having a few on board, but went in the dressing rooms. Don't remember any of that, but I remember jumping on the bus, and the bus was quite subdued. Not subdued, but it was just that the previous 2 hours were just madness. And we jumped on the bus, and I sat down in the seat and went, wow, this is just like any other bus ride.
Wow.
But there was like a buzz, but you know what I mean? Like
was it like reflective? Was everyone just kind of being like, holy shit?
Everyone just sat there and just went. And I think it was Sterlo, came into the sheds and spoke to Joey, and Joey got on the bus and said, Sterlo just came up to me and said, it could be possibly the greatest fucking game of football he's ever seen in his life. And we went, really?
Wow.
Do you know, because for us it was just, you're immersed.
You won the game.
You're just playing, Yeah. It was only later on that but the bus, it changed it around Gosford, right? Because back in the day when driving up to Newcastle, the M1, it's called now, when you got to Gosford, you started having roundabouts, and you drive, bang, going through, probably about half a dozen roundabouts as you're going through that Central Coast region, and all the roundabouts are full of people having parties.
Oh, really? On the roundabout?
Yep. Fucking bonfires.
Oh, far out.
People, guitars. And then the bus driver was like, hey, boys, hey, everyone, we had seatbelts on the bus, a very flash bus. And shout out Sid Fox. And he just said, everybody better sit down, put their seatbelts on. There's cars getting dangerously close to the bus and trying to sort of almost like, I don't want to be dramatic and say try to push the bus off, but trying to manoeuvre the bus to the side so they can try to jump on and congratulate and everything. And it was madness.
Jesus Christ.
And then we stopped, and the further we got to Newcastle, like the sides of the road started to fill up, and we're going, this is going to be big. And we got off, as we jumped off the highway at Wallsend in Newcastle, it was just madness. Bang. It was crazy. Joey jumped on a cop. It was like surfing on top of a cop car. Probably not the first time. You would say a little glimpse into the future. Except on top of the car, he was in the back of the car. And we go, anyway, so I don't know how long we were there for, but we weaved through and then we started to head into the city, which takes probably about 12, 15 minutes. And when we hit the middle of the city, it was just complete madness. To the point that the bus got trashed. There's all these old trees. I was going to say oak trees, sycamore trees. I don't know what fucking trees they were. Trees. And out the front of the workers' club where we went for all the celebrations, there were people climbing in the trees and throwing themselves off the trees on top of the bus, and then trying to kick their way into the bus.
Oh my God! It's like a zombie apocalypse.
It was. If you saw Joey later, but it was crazy. And then we worked our way in there, and it was just it was super night. Again, though, probably the only vague memory I have is the interview with Paul and Natalie Barr.
Yeah,
and then walking out on the street and just going, oh, Jesus, and looking, and it was like a town had just been demolished. and I'm thinking, how am I going to get home? I've got to go home, and then before we go and continue on with the Mad Mondays.
Yeah.
We're going to get home, and I'm standing there going, right, I'm going to get home. Anyway, cop car come past, and I said, mate, can I get a ride? And they're like, yeah. The paddy wagon, you've got to hop in the back. So I'm in the back of the paddy wagon, going, fuck, this is again. But yeah, I went back and it was great.
Far out.
It was fantastic. It was all those blokes. You have a bond with all those blokes.
Yeah, definitely.
See Owen Craigie and Leo Denover. Like Leo was a big part of that campaign. We don't win the comp without Leo Denover. Joey.
With respect to Leo, that's the first time I've heard Leo's name.
Yeah.
Obviously a different era. But
Leo is a young Indigenous player, right, who came through the Broncos system, but he stuck behind Alf and a lot of other blokes. So he went to the London Broncos. They sent him to their affiliate team in those days. Went up there and played really well, and then they needed a backup for Joey because Brett Kamali had gone to the Hunter Mariners. We needed a backup, so they got Leo down. Joey we played a trial game against Manly, which we beat them on the bell, which was quite prophetic.
Yeah,
and or if you blokes say pathetic. And Joey did his ankle in the last minute, ruptured all the ligaments in his ankle, was out for 12 weeks. Leo just took control of the team. He was in that 12 weeks, he was the best player in the competition.
Really?
He was amazing. And then Joey came back and he, probably unfairly straight away got relegated, Joey. But he
what
played.
Became of Leo? Did he ever go into any other clubs?
He left there and went to West. Could never recapture that time.
Yeah, right.
He still lives. I still see him a bit, and but there were a number of guys like that, stories like that. The guys that, to win a comp, you're using around 29, 30, upwards sometimes 35 players. There's got to be a lot of blokes that play their role, and a lot of those blokes like Brett Grogan and like Leo and whatnot. When full-time siren goes, you see them, and they're like, mate, they're just celebrating so hard.
Yeah.
As if they'd scored the winning try, and that's what a team's all about.
Yeah.
That's why all those blokes, like you see the Chief, All those guys.
Chief's one of my all-time favourite players. Chief just like reminds me of my first ever memories of rugby league. Like he was just that fucking haircut. He just he looked scary and awesome.
He was almost like a friendly Ivan Drago. He's just such a great guy. And like Chief went through a real period. It was funny when I went and played at Wigan. I'm jumping around. People are going to listen to all these fucking stories. All these stories, you just sort of. When I went and played in England and north of England, I was oftentimes copping a bit of a hard time off the locals because there was a player called a really great up and coming front rower in England called Ian Lucas, who played for Wigan, and Chief played in a test match. I think it was 1992 in Melbourne against Great Britain, and hit Ian. It was the game really teed off and got nasty, and Chief hit him in a really big shot, and Ian Lucas never played again. It was a bad shot. Hit him really hard, and he was out.
As in hit him or hit him high?
No, a tackle.
Oh,
but
right.
I
caught him high.
Yeah. Anyway, Chief it had a big effect on Chief, and Chief went away, and you used to sort of see him a little bit. Not hold back is not the right word, but it rattled him doing that to another player.
Yeah,
and I think he might it's spoken about it, like the impact it had on him. And oftentimes I would see when he would play against other front rowers, he'd go to a certain point, Chief, but he wouldn't go any further. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And oftentimes I reckon opponents in some ways probably sensed that and took advantage of it. But remember before the grand final, you're standing in the circle, and it's just that old Chief returned.
Okay,
and he's like, this is what I'm fucking going to do. No one gets sent off in the grand final. Let's go. Jeez, he got close. He just started jamming jamming guys. And if you watch the game, what he and Tony Butterfield did at the start of that game, how brutal they were, was a big factor in us winning because Manly at the back end of the game were battered. And it was... But but Chief's a great guy, to work with him for years afterwards, after we both retired.
Yeah.
You don't meet a better guy than Chief.
It comes across as well, right? Like he just seems like a good dude.
But mate, he's such a warrior. And we did with Mark Hughes Foundation, all the boys, we did the Everest walk, Everest Base Camp.
Yes.
So we did Everest Base, and some of the boys was really rattled. Some of the boys, it was sort of documented that one or two of the boys were in a really bad way. Things were sort of touch and go for a little bit. And so
this walk, they were
we'd sort of missed. We did. I think the day we went to base camp and back, we did too much.
Yeah,
and mate, we're walking back, and the fittest guy on the trek who had just retired was Kurt Gidley. I remember walking back this sort of like this plain. It was just this barren plain. We're going back toward the tea house we're staying and just going, I'm thinking, I'm a bad way here. And looking at Kurt, and he was wrecked.
Oh,
and
really?
going, mate, how's some of the other boys? And there were guys like being physically sick.
Oh, wow.
Pissing themselves.
Jesus.
Some heavy shit. Yeah.
Really?
So we got back.
I thought base camp was relatively doable.
Yeah, but we just did
too much.
That day we did too much. We went far too much. And I remember I was rooming with a great mate of mine, Steve Crow. And they're like, make sure you look after your roommate, keep an eye on him. So I was like, come on, Crow, let's go. We'll go up to the tea house, see all the boys. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to sort of sit here for a while. And me, oh, yeah, okay. So I go, and I'm sort of there for a little bit. And about an hour later, I go, I haven't seen Crow, and I come back, and he's asleep. And they went and did his oxygen levels, and they were so low.
Oh.
It was really, very, very, very low, to the point they were thinking about, flying him back to Kathmandu.
Oh, wow.
But that last... they told us that there's one more level above base which you can do the next morning if anyone's keen. It gives you a beautiful view of Mount Everest at dawn. It's called Kulapatan. Anyway, so does anyone want to do it? And we're looking around. Anyone? You got blokes who are dogs of war like Denny Bidderis and Kirk Idley going, no. We go, no. So I'm laying there, and we're going back to Kathmandu that day. We're going back, and where you can let your hair down, have a few beers. I'm excited. So it's dark, laying there. It's about 4 o'clock, and I hear this knock on the door, and I go, "Yeah, Chimpy, it's Chief." Oh fuck! I know what's happening. Yeah, mate. Chimpy, I was just thinking, I don't reckon we'll ever come back here again. Probably right, mate. Let's do Kalapatan, Chimpy. Oh, Chief. No, I got Brad Godden here. He's going to do it, and I got my young bloke. So he's got his young bloke on the walk as well.
Yeah,
he's very young. Fucking here we go. We do it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Right?
Really?
And you're walking, and you're seriously, and obviously toughness and that grit runs in the family because Chief's young bloke's vomiting. It doesn't stop, keeps walking.
Oh,
up.
really? That's cool.
To the point you're getting at the very end when you're about to hit Kalapatan, you're literally sitting down for 10 minutes, walking for 20 metres, sit down another 10 minutes. But you get to the top and it's amazing. But Chief gets to the top. Look at Chief. And Chief's, both his knees have just ballooned because they're bone on bone.
Yeah, right.
So the walk back down the mountain, he has to do it backwards.
Oh, my God.
He's going backwards down the hill, and I just looked at him. I thought, "Fuck, this guy's a warrior."
Yeah, a different animal.
There's no one like him, but such a fantastic guy.
And no complaints, eh? Like he's just dealing with it, you know.
Just dealing with it. On the walk, there were times that his knees would blow up, and I just look around, and the guys are walking, and it's, you know, their own sort of little groups, and I'd look, and he'd be about 100 metre behind us, and he'd drop back. How you going? No, I'm going good, Chimpy. I'd look at him, I'd say, mate, Chief, come on. Look at those fucking knees, mate. They're like watermelons. But he doesn't complain. He just gets on with it.
Yeah, just walking
I've just got to
backwards.
quickly piss.
I'll join you.
No, you go first.
You go.
Mate, we were talking to these guys on the podcast the other day, these dudes from the beaches, and they spent 8 months planning a surf trip to the east coast of Russia, a place called Kamchatka, to do cold water surfing. The day they left, they fly to Abu Dhabi, they land, they do the fucking layover, and they get off the plane in Abu Dhabi, and it's like Russia's invaded Ukraine. They're like, they've spent 8 months. So they're like, fuck it, let's just still try and go. And then they get over there and they're getting through customs and shit. It's actually an incredible documentary, surf doco, but like just...
Kamchatka.
They said they were getting... They sat on the tarmac to fly from Abu Dhabi to Russia for 5 hours as they tried. There were like a couple of Russian fighter jets had been shot down, so we've got to try and find like a different flight path. And then they had Russian fighter jets escort the plane
To Moscow.
to Moscow.
Unbelievable.
Fucking unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
So is that on the Black Sea? Is that Kamchatka?
It's basically like the Far East Russia. It's almost like, you know, opposite Alaska.
Yeah, right. Okay, so it's over.
It's on the Pacific and
towards China.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
Pacific
be
on the
right,
on the east, and then the north is like the something sea.
It's a weird name for
the Arctic sea, or
yeah, like it was one that I hadn't even really heard of before.
Something like that.
Yeah, right. It
the Sea of Okhotsk.
Yeah, right.
Well, here you go. Yeah, it rolls off the tongue.
We're going to do, me and Carney, we're going to do the Trans-Mongolian thing.
Is that the railway? Is that a railway there?
Railway, yeah. You can do
Trans-Siberian, that's on I've
But
heard.
the one that you go, the Mongolian, it'll go around through Mongolia as well.
Oh,
okay. But they reckon it's fucking amazing. If you get on, right, just have a look. It's so much of the world you just don't even see, like there's these amazing Siberian towns.
Yeah.
So Vladivostok is this fucking big booming town. There's all these towns you've never heard of in far off Siberia. You just go, fuck, how do they live there?
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere. At least, like, Russia's like 3 times bigger than Australia. And there's just like the whole east. Moscow's not that far into Russia before the whole...
When the boys are saying they landed in Moscow and then it's like a 10-hour flight across to get to Kamchatka, I was like, holy shit, you're right. Like, I just hadn't even really given much thought to how humongous Russia is.
A really good podcast to listen to is A Short History Of.
Oh, yeah. Is that... Who's the guy who does that? Is that Malcolm Gladwell or something? Is it everything?
No,
it's
it's a different guy. It might be Dan Snow does it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, A Short History Of. Mate, it's fucking so good. And he does it's really good, the short history of the Trans-Siberian Railway and how they built it.
Okay.
It's fucking...
Would have been... Jeez, that would have been a tough carry.
Put it this way, I don't think there are any unions there making sure that...
everything was up to code.
Yes.
A few bodies under the railway, I think.
Yeah.
Just sleepers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Use them as sleepers.
Yeah. And you said you had a wee story before we carry on.
Oh, right. Yeah, we just took a slight intermission.
A urine break.
To do a urine break. And you like to talk to, a But you're 32. Wait for another 20 years to 52, right? Your day revolves around when you need to piss. You get there every time you're about to go and do something. You go, fuck, I better go and piss. So Trish and I go to Tina the musical at the Tina Turner Story. Got to see it. It is unbelievable. Okay. It is so good. The cast. Anyway, listen to me talking about musical theatre. And anyway, so I said to Trish, did you book aisle seats? She goes, oh, I think so. What do you mean you think so? Give me a look at the tickets. So I'm looking at the tickets, and it goes, row C, 25. Give me a look at the run. Give me a look at the stage here, how it's set up. Oh, no. We're in the middle. So I literally have a panic attack before about to go in, just going, oh, no, I know I'm going to have to piss. So you hate to be that person because, they're like,
excuse me.
And you come back. So anyway, they're doing the musical is about to start in 5 minutes. So I go close to the toilet. The musical is starting in 3 minutes. Okay, just close to the toilet. The musical is about to begin. I run into the toilet, have my last one, then run back out. And just hang there. And it's terrible because you go, all I do when I'm watching it, I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. But I'm also thinking, oh, no, I don't need to go. I don't need to go. Right? No, is it coming? No.
That's where I was getting to, and we were talking. I'm like, mate, you're fine. It's all good. Just hold on to it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
As soon as you start doing that,
you should just go. And then I'm I'm nervously putting my foot. I'm like, I don't want to cross my legs and make it obvious. And I go, I can't do this.
Yeah, it begins to consume you.
I'm going to piss my pants.
It does.
It'll be a nightmare.
It does.
You got aisle seats here too, mate.
I can go. It's fine. Go. Post footy career, you go into. Were you doing Footy Show before you retired?
A little bit.
So that's like where you're just sort of getting a taste for it all.
Yeah, they'd invite me on, and they were doing they get players on as guest hosts and things like that.
Yeah,
started to do it there.
And was your natural inclination to be the funny guy when you were on there? Was that always the thing, or did that develop?
I think it developed into a role.
Yeah,
is that so? The Reg Reagan character, for instance, that was born a fair while before I went on.
So you were doing Reg,
The origins, this is where it happened, right? So at the time, Newcastle were in the midst of arseholing me out of the club. And it was a really stressful time. And I was, and it was just, we were about 2/3 of the way through the season.
Was that was that a tumultuous period? Like, I didn't really know how that came about.
It started taking on the life of its own a little bit, local, It was sort of used as a tool, like, whenever there was a bit going, there was some factions in the club, and one faction was using that against the other. I'll be honest with you, looking back, it was the right decision. I was hitting the wall. I was just about done. Yeah. But it was, the usual stuff that happens. It happens, you see it all the time, where a side's got a local junior, and he's all of a sudden he's 32 and they're going to move him on, and people go, you can't do that. Yeah. But, hey, you can't run anymore. So I'm sitting there anyway. We're up in Townsville. We're about to play the Cowboys, and I'm lying on the bed. Mark Hughes on the bed next to me, and we're watching the movie that Michael Stipe produced, called The Man on the Moon, about Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah,
starring Jim Carrey.
Yes,
and Andy Kaufman was this genius who was Andy, but then he would transform into these other people. He had these alter personalities, like alter egos. And he wouldn't just go into them like hardy ha ha. He would become that person. And I just thought, how wonderful, how lovely it would be to just get a break from yourself. So I thought, there's been so much going on in my life. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to totally take on a new persona. So through the weeks, I would become Reg Reagan.
What, like a training and shit?
Far out. That's crazy.
Warren Ryan, the coach, didn't really get it.
How did the boys
loved it. So I would turn up sometimes, like in sort of 70s shirts with the big lapels, and they go, oh, Reg is here. And they carry on the facade. And I did a couple of interviews. I remember Steve Maskell coming in after a game once. And it was like, oh, Matty. I said, stop you right there. Full-time siren's gone. I'm Reg Reagan. And he was like, okay. So we did this interview with Reg.
That's hilarious.
So it just spilled in and then went on the show, and they got me to do a couple of things, and they said, anything else? And I went, yeah, I've got this sort of alter ego that I slip into. Reg Reagan. Oh, yeah, tell us about him. Oh, he's sort of this obnoxious guy who's stuck in the 70s. He's full of all this false bravado. But again, to cover his underlying insecurities, he's an alcoholic, except now we love it. That's who we are. And so, it went like that.
It's kind of crazy though with Reg Reagan, and I don't mean to like blow smoke up your ass, but like as a character, he has like, it's got a place in Australian like sort of comedic folklore. There's like, obviously you've got like Barry Humphries and Dame Edna and that, and like that was sort of a global export that people, but Reg Reagan like became a full on thing.
Reg holds up.
Reg absolutely does.
And he was literally, in my head, he was a different person.
Yeah, right.
Like I would, and I put my hand on, I would transform when I put the gear on.
Yeah.
And it would happen. I could be, like I've gone where we're going to do a shoot, or I've had to do this certain thing as Reg, and I can turn up and I'm tired and it's the very last thing I want to do. And as soon as I put the gear on, I would transform.
You're into it.
And I'd have gas in the tank. I'd be sweet. I'd banter. Things would come. Like you get there sometimes and you go, right, we're going to do this live interview. And I'd go, how am I going to do that? Like I'm tired. I don't know what I'm going to say. But then when the gear went on and someone would talk, everything would just flow.
Yeah. There's something about like knowing the character so well that you actually know intuitively how to react to certain questions or in certain situations that are true to whatever he is.
I'll tell you a funny thing like that. Like I interviewed on the podcast recently Waleed Ali.
Yes.
And I said to him, who is the most impressive person that you've met or worked with in field of work? And he said, this is going to sound outrageous. He said, the guy who does Elmo. And I'm like, right. He said, what you got to understand is, he said, we had him live on the project. He said, he had this little sort of area under the table. So we're looking at that break going, okay, there's a guy under the table. He's got Elmo. So he's got the puppet. And he said, there was nothing planned. He just said, ask me whatever you want. And he would answer everything in character as Elmo and do the face. Like you're not just saying it. You'll have to do the emotions with your hand. And, and he said he just nailed it. He said, I was just looking down going, this guy's a genius. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying Reg is a genius. No, but you actually know if you ask Reg's opinion on something, it would just flow.
Yeah,
I just knew it was that part of my brain. I knew it inside.
Where'd Reg come from, the name Reg Reagan?
Yeah.
Because
it's a ripper name.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know what? And who he became was a sort of conglomerate of all the people that I knew from Cessnock and people who'd lived in the house, old footballers and Dad's mates, things like that. Like Dad would always say, Dad never found him funny. I said, because Dad, you are Reg Reagan.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, I said Terry Regan. So I thought part of it was, Rigo's character, Terry Regan, the outrageous Terry Regan. And I went, okay, Terry Regan, okay, Regan, okay, well, Reg, it's got a,
it's got a nice little.
Reg Reagan.
And some of the fucking street talk things with Reg, or like the Logies ones, like, mate, it's funny. Like you look back on the Footy Show, and again, for people of our generation, that's like golden age television. Like it's just some of the great moments of our childhood growing
peak
up.
Telly.
Some of the peak telly.
It was, and it was fun.
Yes.
Like, like it wasn't cerebral television. You never went on there to say, righto, we're going to change the world here.
Yeah.
Like it was just, mate, it was fun.
Yeah.
They were great guys to work with. It was good fun. And you go out on the street talks and just mix them with the punters. And the punters, like, it's funny. Some of the old women that see Reg, and they, side love, because everyone knew a Reg.
Yes.
It was either their dad or it was their crazy uncle. It was someone. Everyone related to him. They knew who he was.
How did you? Because obviously it's like a different type of success, like media from football. How did you process success? like as a young person or as an older person? Like, did it overwhelm you in any sense? Like, did you find it are you very comfortable with it?
Yeah, yes, I was. It's hard to know, like, success. Yeah, I don't sound like a wanker here. I'm trying to find the right words, but it isn't a place you just arrive at.
No,
it's just sort of something that builds, and you don't get handed a medal or anything like that. It's hard to define it because people say that's great, other people say that's shit. Some people say I love that, other people say it's stupid. So it's just like it's more that you start to get attention from people, which I love. I'm a people person, and it's really, for me, that's the part of it I enjoy the most is people getting in there and coming up. Like you get Magic Round, right? And again, I've said this to talking to young players and players who are sort of experiencing, their different things, and have had difficulty with, maybe had an incident or something like that with a player, or sorry, with a fan that has been a punch on or something like that. Anyway, I said, you've got to understand, I said, what the position you're in, how lucky you are. So Magic Round, a bloke comes up to me, right, say for instance, and he's got his kid. Matty, can you sign the young bloke's jersey, or can the young bloke have a photo? They just want that much, right? If you give them that much, they just go, fuck. To be able to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and to do something for a young bloke, and you speak to his dad, but even sometimes to see the young bloke go away and look at his dad and go and look at, because you treat people with kindness and respect, and you're chatting to the old man and how you going, mate, and you're chatting away, is to see his young bloke go away and look at his dad and go, fuck, Dad, that
was awesome.
You're pretty cool, Dad. You just go, that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you understand that more. That's the part of it I love most, is you're walking along Magic Round and people come up and say hello, give people time. Makes you, it makes you feel good. How easy it is to make people feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Did you ever feel like, I guess, these things are going well? Like, how do I keep it going well? Is there anything like in that sense, or you just were able to sort of roll with it all and take what comes and
no plan?
Yeah,
no plan as such. It was always like, with certain jobs, like when doing breakfast radio, Tom knew that Triple M, they just ring you and say, do you want a job? I'll do it.
Yeah.
Throw yourself in, do the best job you can, see where it goes. Same with Fox Sports, I'd come back from overseas, beautiful Nirachaza, and Gary Burns goes, mate, we've been trying to reach you for a month. We thought you brushed. I said, oh, no, I've been out of the country. Oh, mate, would you like to come on board at Fox Sports? Absolutely. Not doing anything. Let's do it. Yeah. And you sort of just go and do it. Yeah. It's nothing that I pursue.
It just sort of happens.
Sort of happens.
Yeah.
Do you obsess over your media career in the same way that you would when you were talking earlier about rugby league, if you were to go into coaching or when you're a player? You have that level of obsession?
No, I don't. Because the media stuff becomes more natural to me.
Yep.
Where the football side of things, I had to put, like, that's where Joey and I are different. Like I remember once a game playing the Dragons, game's on the line, last couple of minutes, and Joey just spots an opportunity, runs at David Barnhill, bang, comes off the left foot, goes and scores this amazing try. And I went away and I said to Joey, so when you called that ball, what did you spot? He goes, I don't know. I looked up and Barney just looked a little bit tired. See, for me, I wasn't, that level of simplicity, that natural talent I didn't have. So you had to overthink all the time. Where now because I'm a people person, you get on TV, you're mixing with people, it's more natural.
Yeah.
It's easier. So as far as I really enjoy it. I think for me, my formula is all the time, say to the boys, I just prepare as well as I can, and after that, the dice is rolled. Just go and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I never worry about ratings. I don't worry about, was that a great show or a bad show? No, just prepare well, go and do the show, go and enjoy it, and walk out.
What do you think you'd be most proud of, your media career or your playing career? Is it easy to even make the differentiation?
Just they're so different.
Yeah.
Like same sphere, but just so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so different.
Because you've had incredible success in your media career. You're probably the number one sort of media personality in rugby league, I'd say.
Well,
again,
no,
more
yeah.
smoke,
More
but
smoke
it's the
up the
truth.
arse. Yeah.
So you've done incredibly well.
But again, that's hard to define. Other people, like serious commentary and like certain things. So it's just what people like, But I haven't really thought about that as far as putting my media career up against. I have enjoyed my media career more.
Yeah,
because it's more natural. Rugby league, as I said, it was hard work. It was hard going, not physically for me, like it was mentally really hard going.
Notebook City,
It was, mate. Yeah. Notebook City. Share that tune of the musical. But it was really hard work. I used to have to promise myself when things were going good. I'd just say, Matty, don't fall back into that. Don't let the devil in the door. Don't go to those notebooks. 2 days later, I'm sitting there and I filled another book.
Got an
go
addiction
back and
to notes.
I open the book and I'll just go, Jesus, what was I thinking there? And I look at another one and say, hang on a second, maybe I'm a fucking genius.
You release them one day.
Yeah.
Do you ever give them to your young blokes and go, read these, boys?
Nah.
Yeah, how's that work? Like, as dad and also a rugby league mind, do they like just fuck leave us alone, mate?
Yeah,
Or
we
do
don't.
you-
We don't.
Don't do it at all?
No. Only if they ask.
Right, yeah. If they come to you, do they?
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, really. Mate, they need a father, not a coach.
Yes.
Yeah, these days they're in there. Like, I just think sometimes how agonising it would be. As much as I'd love the game, to be in there at 7 a.m. and not allowed to leave at 4 p.m. I just find that these days excessive.
Did you actually even say something about that recently, where it was like around the sort of structure of a rugby league player's day and just
Me
how
and Cooper were talking about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as you can tell,
I just said
binge that fucking show like it's
I was like, I have heard this.
I just think we did it 1 year at the Knights. Right? When it went full time professional, Super League had hit in the '96 season. We decided, coaching staff get in there at 10 a.m. and you leave at 4 p.m. We were just over it. Like as Chief said, he just said, Chimpy, we don't even shake hands when we see each other anymore. We don't even say good morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, we just went to the coach, said, this ain't working. So for 97, we reverted back to 8 o'clock in the morning, gym session, hour and a half, bust our ass. See you later. The rest of the day, spend it with family, friends, go to the beach, whatever you want to do. Back 4 o'clock in the afternoon, hour and a half, train hard, go home. And it was fun again.
Yeah.
It was a game. I just think sometimes, right, so I use the example, right, of a sideline. Let's say the Tigers. Like, Tigers have found their formula that centralise and simplify their football, operate through the middle. Okay, when you found that formula, why are you in it training all day then?
Yeah.
What you are doing by being in there, in my opinion, is being detrimental to what you've discovered. Because then all of a sudden says, that was great, but why don't we just, and then why don't we just, then all of a sudden you find yourself, you're 100 miles from shore. And you go, well, where did this all go wrong? We were doing this so well. Why did we get here? I believe it's over-analysis. And I think with some of the sides, they're just in there too much.
Yep.
If I was coaching again, I would be doing 2 hours in the morning. Boys, go and live your life. 2 hours in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I think it's more conducive to quality, camaraderie. And people will say, oh, yeah, but they're full-time and, they got a lot of money on their hands. It's what they'll do in their spare time. If you can't trust blokes to go away and do the right thing.
Because they got shitloads of money.
Then those blokes, haven't got the right blokes.
Yeah.
Do you think that mentality's born out of, like, you see all these videos of Kobe Bryant, he's in there at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, and he's doing 6 hours more than everyone else, and hard work equals success automatically. Do you think it's sort of like this obsession with hard work being the answer to everything?
That's you know what? What's a really good point there is that Kobe's made that decision. I know.
Okay.
He's made that decision. Right. Now I reckon your champion players, if you said, boys, go away, go home, relax, I reckon your champion players, what they would do, they'd go to a field and work on other aspects of their game. And they've made that decision.
Yep.
But if you enforce it, it's
feel a bit trapped.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Because
Because everyone, they say, you got to, I love when the coaches go, you got to know your own body, but you got to be here and do this. The game, they train the physical so hard. The game's 98% mental, but you got to be in there all the time. You're in the physical. You got to do this. you've got to be able to trust the players, and you've got to be able to let the players know themselves sometimes. And if you can't trust your players to do that, you've got the wrong blokes.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in rugby league at the moment taking the sort of your approach, the old school approach, to your knowledge?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I think there is an over-analysis. I think sometimes too is the best video sessions that we ever did, that I ever sat and experienced, was one year Warren Ryan came in, and there was this, it was in 1999, there'd been this epic Friday night game. Listen to me. On Hello Sport, sound young, epic. There was this gnarly Friday night game, and it was hectic. And this amazing Friday night game, that's more like it. Better pair of trousers, more appropriate. There was this great Friday night game, Broncos versus Roosters, that Broncos won 8-4. And it just went end to end, this 80-minute arm wrestle. And Warren walked in and said, we're not going to watch our game in the weekend. Put the VCR in, press play, and just sat there. And we all watched the game, and he talked us through different aspects of the game. Look at this. Look at the arm wrestle. Look what's happened here. Look how they're winning the yardage paddle. What's Lockie going to do? Does the right thing. He kicks long. Righto, boys, who's going to crack? Who's going to crack? No one's cracking. Roosters try a little chip over the top. They cracked.
So Roosters crack because they're breaking from their sort of
all of a sudden it's the arm wrestle. Who's going to do it, right? The right kick at the right time. Don't do this. But the Roosters all of a sudden got uncomfortable and went, oh, and then tried a little dink over the top. Broncos cheap field position. Broncos score. Broncos win. Tiny little aspect of the game. Now, why it worked was because in watching it, you remove your own ego. Because if you sit there, if we've just played a game of football, right, and I put the game on, we're watching the game, each of us are thinking about is, fuck, in the 12th minute, I'd knock a ball on. God, this is going to be humiliating. In the 15th minute, I set up that try. Yeah, okay. How do I look there? Do I look tight? I'm not learning the game. All I'm doing, I'm being egocentric. I'm just watching myself. Yeah. And I'm either waiting for the good stuff or dreading the bad stuff that's about to come. And you all talk to all the players, they all think the same way.
Right.
And I think that's detrimental. I think the other thing is making cuts out of context. Tom, come and sit with me here, right? What we're going to do, right? You did this in the 6th minute. Why? Let's go forward to the 30th minute. You did this. I think it's you have a far better feel for the game when you watch a whole game in context.
Yeah, okay.
Rather than just selecting little pieces. Because, Tom, what happened? Why didn't you read that? Tom, you turned in. Why? Well, if you watch the game in context, the reason why is in the previous set of 6, you made 5 tackles in a row and you're tired.
Yeah.
It was a fatigue. It was a decision that was made under extreme fatigue, and it puts things in context.
Eddie and I, look, it may shock you, we're not rugby league analysts of any note. We certainly, we're the home of unqualified opinion. That's for sure,
and unwavering
bias. But before we do let you go, we very much appreciate time. We'd like, and look, the caption here is just basically like rugby league nerd out, which is what we do when you and Cooper are talking. Just a couple of questions. Things that, you may or may not be able to answer for us. The first being that given this comes out after the Origin teams are announced, given your proximity to some of the movers and shakers who make the decisions, do you have any inside word on who's getting picked, any bolters, any shock? Or does Joey keep you like...
Tom, I don't know whether you saw or heard what happened the other day
saw it and heard it.
When I had the nerve to bring this sort of stuff up and give Billy Slater some praise, how he bit. I'll tell you what happened, right? So Joey has attention deficit disorder. Disorders. So we're doing the radio show. It's me and Webby. We're chatting along with the producers and Maestro and Ben. And away we go. And I look at him, and he'll be sitting there just watching the morning show, those couple of palookas, and just watching that. And we go, Webby goes, and I go, like the 2 weeks previous, I was doing sort of talking about this certain guy, and it was sort of emotional or someone close to me, and I'm sort of trying to find the words. I look at Webby, and Webby's sort of get a little bit misty. I look at Joey. Joey's watching the surfing, right? He's going, and he goes, "Oh, look what John just did." So he's sitting there on the phone. So Webby's talking about Origin, right? And he's trying to bump, and I'm going, yeah, but he's trying to prompt Joey about, Joey's going. I look over and he's looking at his surfing photos. And Webby goes, and I go. So then we start talking. I start rapping Queensland. I knew we'd get the bite. Mate, how good is Billy Slater? How good is this? You know what I love about Queensland? All of a sudden I see him go, okay, yeah, we got him.
Got him. And he went, didn't he? He absolutely went for it.
So at the moment, we're having a little spell from each other.
Yeah, right. It's funny the way that the media makes it out. It's like that. And I've got a brother as well. I was looking at it. I was like, that's just two brothers fucking going at each other. People are like, oh.
Yeah,
Matty and Joey at each other.
Well, that was the great thing about playing alongside Joey, is that I can imagine like a lot of the things that Joey and I would say to each other in a game, if I said that to a non-relative, to my fellow half, might be over. The relationship's over.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we would say, but it was just like water for ducks back. Like we would fight, have fist fights at training. Often. Like when great Malcolm really came, the Englishman coach, he was like, what the hell's going on? Get between them. She says, let him go. They do it all the time. That was the beauty of with the relationship. And now working with Joey, I can say on air, you're an imbecile.
Yes. Yeah.
And he just
rolls with it.
And he always comes back with his favourite. Oh, you played 4 Origins and you didn't win any.
Mate, that line of you don't need to be a bacon and no bread tastes good, I was like, oh, that was a fucking finishing move. I'd never heard that line before.
I just made it up.
Did you?
What'd I tell you?
Did you?
Just read the exercise books.
There you go.
No, I'll tell you what happens is with Joey, everything is, I know what he's going to say. He's either going to say, you played 4 Origins and you won none. Or, oh, yeah, like in 2000, we let you go. And guess what happened? We won the comp the next year. Great. I say, so when it starts, I always work up standard lines to come back with.
Yeah.
Because you're pressing the computer key. You know it's going to come out and you can just counter it. Yeah. People go, where'd that line come from? You go, oh, no, just come to me.
Mate, that was a great line. That is a ripper.
It was something that I'd thought long and hard about, wrote a couple of little lines that I can use when Joey comes out with that.
You saw his face. He was like, fuck, I don't even know what. He had nothing to say about it.
Well, then he kept going, well, mate, you just called him the greatest side. I said, I never said they were the greatest side. He didn't hear that. Most of it because he was watching his surfing videos.
I must say, though, his passion warms my heart. Like last year when he had the fucking shits on the panel. Just after like, I'm going to have to listen to fucking Queenslanders for the next year. Like, that's good stuff.
He has. That's the thing about champions, right? Is that I think when people saw, and I was about to say, I'm not comparing Andrew Johns to Michael Jordan, but why not? They're both playing a sport. In fact, Joey was he was a part of 13 parts where Jordan's one of 5, and and his influence on the team. But the thing that what you see with the Jordan documentary is the biggest thing which people underestimate in the champions is the level of fire in their belly. Right? And you see in Jordan's case, that fire has never gone out and it's become problematic in retirement. But that's the fire that sort of burns away. And every now and then with Joey, I see it, that someone stokes it and it just comes back out again. And I remember like when we were playing, like we'd go in and it was very much like there were bits in the Jordan documentary where he would invent things about guys
in his own
they
head.
had slighted him. Joey was similar. Joey would get really emotional when he's playing, say, a young halfback, and he go, I know he thinks he's better than me. I know he thinks he's better.
Really?
He thinks he's better than me. He thinks he's better. And I'm thinking, mate, the kid's played 3 games. So you go into a game and Joey's going, mate, I'm going to do it. And the bloke's going, oh, fucking hell, what have I done? So I see that with Joey, that fire that
still
just
there.
Gets stoked.
It's still inside.
Like he'll call me sometimes after a game and on a Saturday and go, mate, did you see that? Did you just see what happened? I go, no. He goes, mate, that bloke just lost. They just got spanked. They got 30 stuck up him, and he's standing on the field, mate, talking to a bloke, laughing. What's that all about?
Not all like you, mate.
No, exactly.
Can't all with the 8th. On Origin, though, I need just a couple of insights, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Do you think Hines gets the starting job at 7, or do you think 6 rather, or do you think they stay with Luai? And where's Turbo at?
On the case with Turbo, I trust Tom that much. I would go to Tom and just say, "Are you ready to go?" I'm not going to seek the opinion of this person, that person, what's been written, what's been insinuated. You just tell me, are you fit? If he says he's fit, he's in.
What do you think, though, based on what you've seen? Obviously, because as you say, Tom would tell you he seems like that sort of guy. But based on what you see, like, what do you feel?
No, I think he's okay. I think he's fit. I think he's just trying to. I think at the moment, you got to understand, like I was so slow, right? But for whatever reason, I'd have hamstring injuries. I know what hamstrings do to you.
Yeah.
How they affect your confidence and how long it takes to build that confidence back up.
Right.
It's really I just kept doing hamstrings because I had a lower back problem, neurological problem, and honestly, you get there sometimes and a gap opens up and you go, oh no, you do.
Yeah.
And Tom is still in the midst of building his confidence back up. I see glimpses. Like I was actually the other day against Cronulla. I thought there were some really encouraging signs. Yeah, like getting back to really challenging that middle defence and running. I think he's that close.
Yeah.
I think he's that close. Again, if I go to him and say, you ready to go? And he says, yes, I put him in the team. Because, mate, he can all of a sudden, he can just win a series for you.
Yeah.
On Luai,
yep.
I think if they pick the side tomorrow, they'll go with Jerome.
Yep.
They'll go with Jerome. I was always Nico Zernti's. It's his time. He's earned his opportunity, and I still believe he has earned it. But what you saw with Luai the other night is he's the best deputy in the game. I don't mean that disparagingly, but Nathan is the chief playmaker. You've got Yo there as well, and Jerome just run. Like that game the other night, when he brings out his greatest hits album, it'll be on.
Yeah.
So this going into this week, if Nico goes to Newcastle and puts in a 10 out of 10, he's going to give Freddie some food for thought. But I get the feeling it'll be Luai.
And does Nico miss out completely?
Well, that's interesting. I think I don't know. I sort of feel I've always said that if my 14 to be Cody Walker, I love Cody as a player, love his fire, and I think holding him back and just throwing him into the contest in spurts could be a match winner. You could play, and you could play Cody anywhere because he's just a really natural footballer. He's just got those natural instincts, and he'd make it work. And he would form combination. He forms great combination with Murray, Cook, Latrell.
Yeah,
there's all that at play too.
Yeah.
So I'd go with Cody at 14, but there's a serious argument for Nico. So your Nico and Jerome, they're different in the case of that. I just said about Jerome. Jerome is a masterful deputy. So he doesn't encroach on Nathan, but he just complements everything he does. He'll only encroach when he sees a better alternative, and he'll sees an alternate opportunity, and away he goes. And that's his role. Where Nico at Cronulla, he's playing the whole field. He's the chief playmaker. He's the primary shot caller. He's steering the side. He's putting direction. Now that's Nathan's domain.
Yeah.
However, Nico has proven in the past when he was at Melbourne that he can be a great complementary player, sitting with Munster and Jerome. It's just what Freddie's after, and I get the feeling like Freddie's a huge fan of Luai, and understandably so. I think they'll go with Luai if it was picked now.
Okay. Look, Eddie and I hate a lot of rugby league sides in the competition because we are such proud Manly fans. One of those being the Roosters. Players hate the club. Same with the Eels, same with the Dragons. They're probably our three. Would they be our three most?
I think so.
Probably.
Again, love the players, don't like the teams.
Rivalry stuff. Are the Roosters, again, unqualified opinion, they seem like a club that fucking can only really do the damn thing if they're like bringing in a couple of great players from somewhere else. Is that a unreasonable assertion? At least 2000s Roosters.
It's a skill. They've actually brought in a number of players over the years. I mean, everyone's looking to bring the big players in. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
But they've also brought a lot of guys in and and after a year or two, turn into the players they are. Like their coaching system is very, very good. And I mean, I like if you look at when Tedesco went to the club, Tedesco was a terrific player, but if you went back, you got to go back and like have a look at what the player he's developed into. As he's been, Roosters have had a lot to do with it there.
How much of on Tedesco, someone like him, how much of that is sort of, lack of a better term here, but like destiny, in that they're a great player and they are probably going to become like, there's improvement over the course of a career, and the actual like the coaching, the specific coaching, and the things that he's learned along the way.
Cronk was, I think, Cronk and Robbo together. Playing with Cronk was a really, I think, important step in Teddy's career. When I watch him at the Tigers, in those Tiger sides, there was a bit of Teddy ball in those teams. So it was just throw the ball to Teddy, make something happen, Teddy. Fast feet, just make it happen. And initially when he went to the Roosters, I could see he was struggling, because all of a sudden you're playing with Cronk, who's a very scientific player. Be here, sit on the inside shoulder and break here, sweep here, call this, do that, be there, don't do this. And I could see that really weighing on him. But when he hit the middle of the season and the penny dropped, he just went wham, went to that next level.
Yeah.
So was he going to be the player he is now? Maybe, possibly, but you don't know. And he's had certainly playing alongside, going into that system and being up and playing alongside Cronk in that system has taken him to another level. It's interesting watching the Roosters now, like, it's everyone sort of going, waiting for them to find their best football. It'll happen, but the thing about it is a little bit like last year when you get off to a slow start in the competition, is when you hit the middle of the year or 2/3 of the way through the year, suddenly you're under pressure. Like, oh mate, the Roosters got to win 5 of the next 6.
Yeah,
mate. That oftentimes you can hit the finals and you spent your pennies.
Yeah,
that's why getting off to a good. That's why like the Cowboys are on a bit of a tightrope. They're getting their season back on the rails, but a slow start doesn't give you breathing space, particularly through the origin period.
Yep.
Where coaches, like if you look, like Wayne's famous for getting to toward the back end of the year and almost taking the hands off them for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, knowing when was the right time to jump on them and crack the whip, and they go on winning runs. So but when you get off to a slow start, coaches, you don't get that luxury.
Yeah. Well, it was Roosters last year. They sort of had to win 5 or 6 at the back end of the season, and they got to the Rabbitohs and bang.
That's right.
See you later.
Are they unfair on their halves sometimes, or is it maybe it's the media rather than? But like Sam Walker being such a young player coming in, and it's like kill it or you're gone, or you're into reserve grade, and like feels like there's
Kyle Flanagan before
Kyle
that,
Flanagan,
Mitch Pearce before that.
Mitch, like at least Mitch got to go, but they got rid of him. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any other players in the side that are getting outwardly,
that's the nature of
held
Tommy
accountable
he's going to a big club.
Yeah.
When you go to a big club, like a lot of times you see it with football, you get a player who's very good, but he goes to Real Madrid, and the pressure, when you get to Real Madrid,
you got to perform.
If you're not putting the ball in the back of the net and you're a striker, you're gone. That's when you go to those top clubs. That's why, like, the great Eric Cantona, one of the great stories I love. He goes to Manchester United, and, the theatre of dreams, and Alex Ferguson walks Eric Cantona at the middle of the field and says, "What I want to know, Eric, is, are you big enough for this club?" And Eric goes, "Well, what I want to know is if this club is big enough for me." And he was one of the sport's greatest winners.
Yeah.
That's the mentality, and that's the
nice
mentality you
Eric.
need to survive at those clubs.
Yeah.
He would have been frothy when he heard that, Alex.
He said,
baby.
"That's my man."
Yeah,
I love that.
But that's what happens, mate. You go to a big club, and their expectations are up here, and I feel for Sammy, but a lot of time he should be looking now, and what this has confirmed the last few weeks have confirmed that Sam wasn't the problem.
Yeah. Right.
The problem is whether it's the style of play they're trying to play, they've lapsed into, that Sam's not the problem.
Yep. Interesting.
Rugby Union v Rugby League, and Rugby Union, they're just like they're not a competitor, right? In the sense that like no one really gives a shit other than when the head of Rugby Union, obviously they get Suoliti, which is, massive. They got to pay shitloads of money for him.
Yeah.
But then the head of Rugby Union is almost taking like a Vlandis approach to being like super outspoken and getting in Rugby League's face. And it's almost, but it's like Rugby League can't help themselves but bite back at him. Like if you said nothing, he'd disappear.
He would have gone. He would have gone months ago.
He would have gone. But the way his approach has got everyone pissed off.
Yeah.
How do you see it? Like,
well, I love it. I absolutely love it. When I love it when Vlandis used to go when he goes the AFL.
Yeah,
I love it because in my opinion, like when they GWS and came in and too many of our bosses were like, oh well, we can coexist, and where Vlandis is no. In fact, we're going to do this, and they were like it's a bit like the Victorian racing. They used to laugh at Vlandis, not laughing anymore.
No,
laughing.
They're all trying to band together to take out racing.
Well, they're actually just pissed off now.
Yeah, that's right. It's like that with Peter. I love it when you used to go Gil McLaughlin and just go on. I say, yes, do that. So then I can't whinge when Union do the same to us, and they're trying to make impact. And it's smart, it buys them headlines. And the games at the moment, it's struggling because they're necktied to international rugby, and international rugby don't want to change the rules because the game's flying in Europe. Yeah. Why should they change the rules?
Yeah,
the laws, as it were.
The laws.
Yes.
Where the strength of rugby league in a lot of ways, like we don't have that. Like the 6 again rules, in my opinion, has been a revelation. I don't think the game has ever in my time been better. I think the game is just in such a sweet spot. Watching the standard of football, how the game, the faster rucks have meant that the best players, the most exciting players, we're seeing more of them and they can show their wares. And television ratings are showing that. And going to Magic Round, the buzz around Magic Round. And so the strength of rugby league is that we always ensure that we're an entertainment game. That's entertainment. And so the ability to tinker the rules and keep the, defence is always chasing attack. When defence catches up to the attack, then the game suffers because of it. And we just keep changing the rules so the attack just keeps ahead.
A little bit in front.
Yeah.
Come out of those wrestling days.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's, the 6 again rule has done a lot to, pull that back. It's made the game, it's just up the ante with the game. If you go back and watch the game, some of the games from 5 years ago, you go, mate, there's no football being played.
Yeah.
One thing as well, it's of great importance to Tom and I, one of our favourite rugby league sayings is play eyes up footy.
Yeah, because this is you hate this one, right?
But you hate it.
Yep.
And so we need to get your understanding of why you hate it. And
then we're able to explain it to you as well.
We can explain because you're clearly not getting it.
So there's certain things that I don't like in the game. So I come from the angle of me if I was a player. So we've got to aim up in D. I hear that. Oh, we've just got to aim up in D. See, that just washes over me. Like defence is hard. Defence is attitude. Defence is about aggression. So I'm not going to say to you, Tom, mate, listen, playing the Broncos this week, mate, need you just aim up in D. See, that's not exciting. That doesn't inspire you.
No.
I say to you, Tom, hey, listen, mate, this weekend we'll get out there, you've got to fucking break some ribs for me. And you say, yeah,
I'll do it.
I'm going to do that. Right. So I understand, we'll get up our aggression in defence. Right. I get all that. But it's that ability to inspire a player and go, yep, that's what I'm going to do. If I'm sitting in there before a game and the coach walks to the collective group and go, and we've got aim up and D, I just go, oh God, I just can't wait. I just say, I can't wait to get the ball back. You know what I mean? And so eyes up footy, I don't.
Do you know what it means? Do you understand like how, eyes up, playing what you see? Because we were like, we heard you saying, we were like, surely he gets eyes up footy. At least understands it.
See, what happens is, this is why, like, when you do ball work, right, as a team against no opposition, it's detrimental if you do too much of it.
Okay.
Because what it does, it's eyes sideways footy. Now, what I mean by that is all you're doing is looking sideways, rallying players to different points on the field, and that can creep into play. Right. And so what eyes up footy is, it's that walking forward, it's just watch watch the game, watch forward and wait for opportunity, spot and be able to react. It's reactive football. That's what it is, reactive. So you got two types of, I always think in my head, you got the long menu football, which is, boys, let's work to the far post and we're going to come back with this sequence. It takes two or three plays maybe to get there. No? Where short menu football is single syllable words, where you're just walking and you just go, could be a shape might be a pop. You just go, yep, pop, bang, or outside B, bang. Those simple one words. Now that's eyes up footy, but you just can't play eyes up. For me, I've got to give you a guide, Tom. If I'm going to call the football, I just can't, in my opinion, call it blindly and just sort of saunter to the line and expect you to know what I'm going to do. Sometimes I need to give you some sort of guide. So when I'm reacting, so I just like to explain things further. Yes. So if I was to say to you, I would never say eyes up footy to you. I would never say it. I would give you the tools to say, hey, Tom, I just want you to play a more reactive game.
Yep.
Step back, let him organise. Nathan's going to organise for you, right? Nathan's going to let him do it. I just need you to float and react.
Yep.
And these are the plays.
Mate, I'd love to run some shape.
It makes sense.
We're going to need to run shape at some point.
Yeah,
we're going to next year at Caxton. We'll find you and we'll run some shape.
Yep, you'll hunt me down.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll be there.
Mate, it's genuinely been fucking awesome to have you in. It means a lot that you've done it. I know it's been a long time sitting here, and you probably need to piss again like I do. If I do, you definitely do. But, mate, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Boys, thank you.
Thanks
Congratulations on what you're doing.
Cheers.
Too.
Appreciate it, mate.
Really good. Great space here too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the yarn. Loved it.
Yeah, and say good day to your old man for me.
I will, absolutely.
Your old man is a legend and a genius.
He is, I agree. He actually did say, I completely fucking forgot. I spoke to him last night. He did say to say good day. So
he's a good man.
There you go. Thank you, mate.
Beautiful.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Matty.
Well, there you have it. That was fucking great. I feel like I need a cigarette.
Great.
I don't smoke.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'd love a dart after that.
Yeah.
Obviously because it was so good.
And I don't smoke. And I'm not encouraging smoking, but it feels like I should just light one up.
We don't smoke, Tom and I.
No.
Not our racket.
Disgusting habit.
Correct. But Matty Johns just ripped and teared, and it's made me feel like a dart.
Yep. Now,
can't help it.
Shout out to Fox League for allowing him on. Shout out to SEN for allowing him on. Shout out to Matty himself
for coming on,
for allowing them to allow him on.
Shout out to the punter and the dribbler, because with their support, it allowed us to create a network that was a safe space for Matty
to be allowed
to be come on by Fox League and by SEN.
So it's just one of the great,
So it starts with the punter and the dribbler. That's
what the punter and the dribbler. That's what it's trying to say. Now,
and the punter and the dribbler watch Fox, so that's why Fox is a channel, because they support Fox League and then they support Matty.
No one is anything without the support of the punter and the dribbler, and I think we're all prepared to stand here and admit that wholeheartedly. Now, obviously, you can listen to Matty on SEN. You can see him on Fox League on the Matty Johns Show, which is a Thursday and a Sunday. He also does the Johns Family Podcast, which, as I said at the start of the show, a must have in your podcast rotation. You can catch him everywhere, but you also just caught him here, and it was great, and we appreciate it. And we loved it for it.
Cheers, bro.
Bye.
Could you two just not talk anymore?